Cool. Yeah, this is my first time doing this, so we're gonna figure it out together.
From Refine Labs.
We are at Demand Gen Live. Great to have you here on Tuesday. Marketing is pure offense.
So you have in your career 8 to 10 attempts to do something legendary.
We have all up here this thing called Dark Social. It's episode 83.
This is the best, most interesting content on marketing I've heard in more than a decade.
Hey Josh, what's up Lisa? Got a great crew tonight. Hey Danny. Wait, Danny's coming back?
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
You should name him MQL.
Am I in? Can they hear me?
All right, Chris is on.
All right, cool.
Everyone else, mute yourself. The pre-show chatter is coming to a close.
The fun's over, people. Let's get down to business.
Chris is here. Let's all behave.
Good to see everyone. Yeah, let's get a mute all moving right now. Yeah, we're good with that. And oops, things are changing fast here. Better? Test. Cool. I'm getting an echo, David.
Oh, someone muted me, but I was going to say you sounded pretty good.
Yeah, I muted you. I had to mute everyone. Oh man, that's really
okay, we'll take it first one.
We're still tightening up the dials over here, people. We'll be back in 1 second.
Everyone's good.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah, have you guys seen Todd's TikToks? This is like the latest sensation. It's inspiring me. I'm debating grabbing time with Todd and having him share all of his secrets.
Test. Still happening. Test. Better. Solved. Ready? All right, let's do this, people. Really great to be back. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Great to see you. We have, what do we got here? Almost 70 people on live, going strong. I think this is, I'm keeping track now. I think this is week 92 of Demand Gen Live. So we're coming up on 100. It's about 2 months from now, and we'll probably do something special for that. So let's think about what we could be doing. Team, Angelica, Todd, things like that. And so we have a couple of key topics here. The plan is to, as promised, run through 20 submissions of self-reported attribution so people have heard me talk about this at length about how valuable this is, and now I'm going to give you real-life examples of the data that we're getting because we put this on our form. We're not using a drop-down, and I'm going to talk through for like the 5th time in a row on why we don't use a drop-down on this. But before we get into that, we're going to go through self-reported attribution, and then who is here for the event with Gaetano on Thursday? See some, yeah. That event was great. We got a lot of great insights. We should have planned for a longer time for those of you that were on there. So actually I have pretty much a full, maybe it could be like an hour, like 30 minutes to an hour of content here about recapping 2021. Some of the things that I didn't see happening in 2021, but actually did happen. And then some trends or predictions in 2022. And it's cool because I'm literally, as I reference this, and there's whoever's got Slack going, can we shut that down? I'm lost. I can't hear you, Megan. Okay. It was just the Slack. I'm fine. Oh, okay. But somebody's got Slack going off. It's really distracting. Okay. Why don't we just take a breath and start over? So we're going to go through the self-reported attribution, and then I have a full recap, 2021 predictions from my post from last year. I posted in January. We'll look at each of those different ones in the predictions in detail, go through which ones were right, which ones actually played out, which ones were kinda, and which ones were losers, definitely didn't happen. So that'll be fun, and then we'll go through some 2022 predictions. So to get into it, I wanted to start the episode with the self-reported attribution specifically for the podcast listeners afterwards, because I think that this 5 to 10 minute segment is going to be really valuable for people when they see what's going on here. So as I promised, I have 20 submissions that came through our website that qualified buyers saying, hey, I'd love to talk to you about whether my company would be a good fit to work with Refine Labs. And on that forum, we ask, how did you hear about us, with a free text field, and it's required. So anyone that wants to submit that form and book a meeting with us to have a sales conversation will need to pass through that field. As I mentioned, it's not a drop down. What we're finding is that the people that use drop downs sometimes have too many options. And when you have too many options, people get information overload and either pick the first one, the last one, or some random one in the middle. Often that you'll see the top ones in the list. So if you sort it by alphabetical, or some of the people just put Google as the first option, and then what do you know? When you look at the results, Google has the most options, and then what's underneath that? Colleague. And what has the second most votes? Colleague. And so for the reasons of how the options are ordered, you get biased answers, and it's super limiting. And I'm going to talk through why, because with the drop down, what do you get? You get social media. And then if you had a free text field, what do you get? Dave Gerhardt told me to follow Chris Walker on LinkedIn, so I started following, then I started listening to the podcast, and now I'm here converting. Big difference. And so let's go through it. I'm going to rattle off 20 of these submissions. These are real submissions that made it to a high intent revenue opportunity in our pipeline, which is what we call a qualified opportunity. And at the moment, we win these opportunities at 29%. So this is not just random people filling out a form. Okay, Director of Demand Gen, company size 200 to 500 employees. Attribution software says organic search. The customer says, how did you hear about us? My network, specifically Katrina Ross at Canvas. Next one, Director of Content, 200 to 500 employees. The customer, how did you hear about us? I heard about you on social media and also on Dave Gerhardt's podcast. Attribution software says offline sources. The next one, SVP of Sales, company 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, hi, Ashley Lewin is a former colleague and I'm a Chris Walker fanboy. Would love to talk to you about how we can increase our revenue. HubSpot's attribution says direct traffic. Senior Demand Generation Manager, 5,000 to 10,000 employees. How did you hear about us? State of Demand Gen podcast. Attribution software says organic search. VP of Demand Generation, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? Revenue Collective. Attribution software says organic search. Head of Demand Generation, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? Customer says, my teammate is a fan of the podcast. Attribution software says organic search. We got a head of marketing, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, I was referred to your podcast. Attribution software says organic search. We're just getting started. I think we have like 15 more for people, but you can start to see patterns as you listen to this. Next one, Senior Manager Marketing Operations, company size 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, in parentheses, laughs because I watched the video about this field that Chris recently posted about. Chris connected with me on LinkedIn and I've watched several of his videos. Attribution software says organic search. Next, we got VP of Revenue Marketing, 500 to 1,000 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says LinkedIn and podcast. Attribution software says organic search. Next job title, Senior Director of Marketing, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says LinkedIn, of course. Attribution software says organic search. VP of Marketing, 1,000 to 2,000 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says podcast, exclamation point. Attribution software says direct traffic. Next one, marketing automation specialist, company size 50 to 100 employees. How did you hear about us? Podcasts, LinkedIn, Chris Walker. Attribution software says organic search. Next one, CMO, 500 to 1,000 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, Jade Khan recommended that I meet with you about your capabilities. We are a no-code, blah, blah, blah platform. We're looking to drive demand in B2B SaaS model. Attribution software says organic search. Next one, VP of marketing, 50 to 100 employees. How did you hear about us? Customer says Kai Shaw at Banter recommended you. Our attribution software says organic search. Next one, CMO, 500 to 1,000 employees. How did you hear about us? Chris Walker's post on LinkedIn. Attribution software says direct traffic. Next one, Director of Demand Gen, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, no surprises here. LinkedIn and the podcast. I'm a connection with Gaetano, so he also played a role since he was on the podcast originally. Attribution software says organic social. Next one, Director of Marketing, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, I read a Forbes article about your company. Attribution software says offline sources. Head of Demand Generation, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, LinkedIn Organic fed me to the Refine Labs podcast. I've been leveraging the insights and guidance ever since. Attribution software says offline sources. Next one, VP Marketing, 500 or 50 to 100 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says Pavilion. Attribution software says organic search. We got a couple more here for the people that are wondering when this is going to end. We're getting close to the end, but we're going to finish it out as promised. Next one, CMO, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? I follow Chris on LinkedIn. Great insights. Interested to learn about a potential partnership and practical execution of your strategy. Attribution software says direct traffic. Next one, Head of Marketing, 25 to 50 employees. How did you hear about us? Customer says Dave Gerhardt to Chris Walker to here, smiley face emoji. Attribution software says direct traffic. Last one, VP Marketing, 200 to 500 employees. How did you hear about us? The customer says, hi, Refine Labs team. I've been following Chris for some time, and we chat a lot between CMOs. Cheers. Attribution software says organic search. These weren't cherry picked either. This is pretty much across the board what we're getting. So what are some of the things that we noticed here? One, what the customer tells us is almost always different than what the attribution software says. We've been through this at length. Attribution software is going to tell you what captured the demand, but the insight that you need in your business is what is creating the demand. Where are my buyers actually figuring out that there's something that they need that's called our software? That's the piece that most people are missing. The second piece is look at the insights on here. We know exactly who's referring us business to the exact people. We know exactly what communities it's coming from. Some of our customers are getting in this stuff. They're getting the exact subreddit links that of where our ads are being placed that are driving people into their forums. People are copying and pasting the Reddit links and dropping it in here. We're getting, so who's recommending us? We're getting a very clear picture of the podcast, and LinkedIn seems to be working. Gives us a lot of confidence to keep doing what we're doing. And there's a pretty good spread. So some people are like, oh, the enterprise doesn't buy this way. I mentioned quite a few companies with more than 1,000 employees where they came through. Like, let's pull out a couple. We had this VP Marketing, 1,000 employees, podcast. We had another big one in here. 5,000 employees coming from the podcast. Enterprise companies don't go inbound. We need ABM software. We need to go outbound. Just got to think about how you go to market differently. And I can't wait to actually get into the predictions, but I feel like there was enough here that we should stop and pause and see if people have questions, because this is crazy stuff. Megan, let me unmute you. Hold on. You're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Yo, I can't hear Megan.
How's that?
I can't hear anyone else on the Zoom.
That's so strange.
Where's this? This isn't plugged in. Plug that in.
Yeah, it's not good.
The audio cord. Let's go. Figure it out.
Off and wants him to break down his entire dark social strategy. And
Okay, I can hear
so-
something now.
Can you hear me now, Chris?
I can, but we're getting an echo over here. I hope everyone else isn't.
Yeah, we can hear your echo.
Okay, perfect. Better now?
I can still hear your echo a little bit.
Okay. We can go.
While you're
Yeah, we can go to AirPods. I'm not going to make people wait that much longer, so if you can't figure it out in like 30 seconds, I'll switch to AirPods.
I would switch
Okay.
because I can't figure it out. I guess that should work. Everything's plugged in the way it's supposed to.
It's getting real now, guys. Thanks for hanging with us.
You got me? Echo?
If any of you guys have other questions on self-reported attribution, drop them, but I'm going to get the YouTube question in first when Chris is ready for it.
Let's lose the YouTube stream. Just set me up on the computer. Give me that cord. Yeah. All right. Can you hear me now? With no echo? Where else is this running through?